Hi friends, how are you? Okay, so Armpit decided that he wanted to take Ginny to the concert, which is awesome. Okay. He called X-Ray to make sure he hadn't already sold the tickets. I've got a guy in the line right now, X-Ray said. He said he'd pay $150 a ticket. I told you the price would go up. Didn't I tell you? You can't sell them. I'm taking Ginny. Ginny? Are you out of your gourd? Have you completely lost your mind? Look, she had a really bad day. Just bring the tickets over here. I want to get an early start so we can beat the crowds. We're talking $300. I promised Ginny. X-Ray said he'd been over in 20 minutes, but he did not sound happy about it. Armpit sighed as he set the phone back in its cradle. Maybe he was crazy. He didn't even know if Ginny would be able to handle the loud music and the crowds. The phone rang a moment later. It was X-Ray again. I told the guy they were no longer for sale, and he offered 200 tickets apiece. No, said Armpit. $400? No. It was almost 7 o'clock. X-Ray still hadn't showed. Armpit and Ginny waited on the front porch along with Ginny's mother. You listen to Theodore and do everything he tells you, said her mother. I will, Ginny promised. He'd be driving Ginny's mother's car. She insisted on it, which was fine with him, because if he took the X-Ray mobile, they'd have to first take X-Ray home, and they were already running out of time. Besides, Ginny's mom's Camry was undoubtedly more reliable and safer than X-Ray's machine. His mother came outside. Still not here? Armpit shook his head. You must be very proud of Theodore, said Ginny's mother. Armpit's mother was caught off guard. Well, yes, of course I am. If he sold those tickets, I'm going to kill him, Armpit thought. Then a second later, the X-Ray mobile pulled around the corner. X-Ray parked in front and slid out the passenger side as Armpit and Ginny headed down to meet him. What took you so long? Armpit demanded. Hey, X-Ray ignored the question. Hey, Ginny, are you ready to rock and roll? Yes. X-Ray laughed, then handed Armpit the envelope containing the 2 remaining tickets. Just remember, he said, be flexible. All right, said Armpit. You hear what I'm saying? Flexible. Yeah, I hear you, Armpit said. He didn't have time for any of X-Ray's nonsense. He and Ginny got into her mother's car, and he carefully backed it out of the driveway while everyone waved goodbye. He saw X-Ray say something to Ginny's mother, who laughed. They turned the corner. The clock on the dash read 7:06. The concert wasn't till 8. He winked at Ginny. She shut and opened both eyes. Armpit sang, I'm going to take you for a ride and we're going to have some fun. I'm going to take you for a ride. Ginny joined in. And we're going to have some fun. I'm going to take you someplace you've never been before. They sang the last line together. And you'll never be the same again. Chapter 15. They sang all the way to the Lone Star Arena. You know, you don't stutter when you sing, Armpit pointed out. Ginny laughed. Maybe you should sing all the time. Ginny laughed again. Good morning, she sang. I'll have pancakes. Armpit laughed as he pulled into the parking lot, which was crammed with cars and people. Ginny sang, 2 + 2 is 4, Mrs. Ransnickle. He couldn't find anything that resembled a parking space. It was X-Ray's fault for being so late. He lifted the handicap placard out of the pocket in the door beside him. I'm going to have to use this, he said. Ginny stopped singing. It's not because I don't think you can walk. Ginny nodded. I know, she said. He hung the placard on the rearview mirror and parked right in front. Ginny tightly held Armpit's hand as they made their way up to the building. She was so excited she would have had fallen several times if he hadn't been holding her up. Small steps, he reminded her. Is she all right? The ticket master asked. She's dancing, Armpit told him. Inside, they had to maneuver their way through tons of people, all moving in different directions. Before going to their seats, they got in a long line at one of the concession counters. Ginny's mother had given her $20. Armpit lifted Ginny up on his shoulders so she could see. She really wanted a Cara DeLeon official tour t-shirt, but when they got to the front, they were told it cost $28. Armpit was willing to pay the other $8, plus tax, but Ginny's mother had told her to not let Theodore pay for anything. Instead, Ginny bought 2 soft drinks, which came in plastic souvenir cups, and a bucket of popcorn for them to share. She paid with her $20 bill and got $1.75 back in change. Armpit held the popcorn in his drink while Ginny held onto her drink in his arm as they slowly made their way to their seats. He couldn't help thinking about the last time he held a bucket of popcorn in a crowded place, but they safely reached Section B, Row M, seats 1 and 2 without incident. The large stage with towers of speakers on either side jutted out in front of them. Behind them were at least 40 rows of seats, and those were the good seats. Beyond there and to the side, there were 2 tiers of bleachers. He glanced around the people seated nearby, realizing they were the ones whom X-Ray sold the tickets. Well, at least they got their money's worth. These were really good seats. Great seats, huh? He said. Yes, said Ginny. He looked for Murdoch, but didn't see him. An African-American girl was sitting a few feet away with her boyfriend. If it was Murdoch's daughter, then that was too bad. He remembered Murdoch had bought the ticket so he could spend time with his daughter on the one weekend a month he got to see her. Backstage, Cara DeLeon was chewing a piece of gum that long lost its flavor. This was always the worst time for her. She knew she'd be all right once she actually started singing. Then she could disappear in the music. The backstage area is filled with people, half of whom she didn't recognize. Besides all the people working on tour, there was record company execs, friends of record company executives, children of lawyers, brothers-in-law of security personnel. Every once in a while, someone managed to slip past the doofus and ask for her autograph. In Houston, a woman and her 2 kids had actually asked her to sing a song for them. Cara wore a lavender sweatsuit. Beneath it was an outfit she'd wear for the show. For some reason, she seemed to like to wear sparkling stuff under. She had wished she could stay in her dressing room instead of having to be around all these people. It was almost 8, but the concerts never started on time. She should know that by now. El Genius liked to make him wait. He didn't want her taking the stage until the audience had worked itself into a frenzy. She looked at him, shouting into his walkie-talkie. She pitied the person on the other end. Next to him, her mother was drinking from one of those horrible plastic souvenir cups with her picture on it. Cara wondered, a local DJ was on stage now, firing up the crowd. Is everybody ready? Yes, Ginny shouted at the top of her lungs, but even Armpit, sitting right next to her, couldn't hear her for the crowd. Are you sure? Yes, he and Ginny shouted, because Cara DeLeon will be standing on this very spot in just 5 minutes. Armpit felt Ginny's fingers dig into his arm. So just hold on a little longer. Everyone cheered the line from one of Cara's songs. Armpit once only slowly became aware that somebody was tapping his shoulder. He turned to see a security guard. Excuse me, the guard said, apparently not for the first time. May I see your tickets, please? A man and a young girl stood behind him. The girl was probably Ginny's age, although she was much bigger. May I see your tickets, please? The security guard asked again. My tickets? Please. Armpit tried to remember what he had done with them. He hoped he hadn't dropped them when he was dealing with the popcorn.
Hey guys, sorry. I got cut off halfway. My mom was calling, so I had to answer. Obs. Okay, so the guy just came and said they're sitting at their seats. Okay. Armpit stood up to check his pockets. The security guard instinctively stepped back from him. I don't want any trouble, the guard said, placing a hand on his walkie-talkie. I just want to make sure you're in the right seats. Armpit didn't want any trouble either. I got them here somewhere. I'm going to have to ask you to come with me, sir. I've got the tickets, Armpit shouted, partly out of frustration, partly to be heard over the crowd, which now was stomping their feet with impatience. Please, come with me, sir, and I'll help you find the correct seats. Just wait, the guard spoke into his walkie-talkie. I'm going to need some help here. Section B. I bet they're prejudging him on Armpit's appearance. Armpit's pants had too many pockets, 3 in the front right, 2 in the left right, 2 in the back. Found them, he exclaimed. They were the ones in the front pockets. He handed the stubs to the security guard. As the guard was looking them over, 2 uniformed police officers hurried down the aisle. What's the problem here? Asked one of the officers. No problem, said Armpit. Counterfeit tickets, the security guard said. He refuses to leave. What? Armpit exclaimed, reaching for the tickets. Let me see. An officer grabbed his arm and twisted it behind his back, spinning him around. Armpit jerked himself free, but the other officer grabbed him. The next thing he knew, he was on the floor, his face pressed against the concrete. He could feel a knee digging into the small of his back. It felt like his arms were being ripped out of their sockets, as if first the other was jerked behind him. Then they were handcuffed together. His head was lifted off the floor by his hair, and a police officer shouted on her face. What's wrong with the girl? What'd you do to her? Shouted the other officer. He winced in pain. It felt like his hair was about to be ripped off of his head. He'd hear the security guards calling for a doctor. The officer abruptly let go of his hair and his face banged the floor. Look, the officer said. It would really help us to know what is wrong with her. Help her, save her life. What's going on with her? Armpit managed to get a glimpse of Ginny, her body jerking around uncontrollably on the floor. The sight of her made him lurch up, knocking both officers backwards, but just for a moment. They quickly tackled him again, and a club slammed the side of his neck. What is going on here? It was a woman's voice. Stay back, Mayor. He's all crazy. You don't hit someone who's already on the ground in handcuffs, said Cherry Lane. He's done something to that little girl. There's nothing wrong with her, Armpit gasped. Shut up, the officer said, pushing his head against the floor. He managed to raise up. I dug a trench at your house, he gasped. You said you admired me. The mayor leaned down with her hands on her knees to get a better look at him. Her long silver hair hung on both sides of her face. You work for Jack Dunley? Yes. What's wrong with the girl? There's nothing wrong. I swear she's just having a seizure. He was caught with counterfeit tickets, said one of the officers. Let me help her, Armpit pleaded. Please. You think he knew they were counterfeited? Asked the mayor. You think he'd sit in his seats if he knew they were counterfeit? I can help her, said Armpit. Let him go, ordered the mayor. I don't think that's a good idea. You let him go right now unless you want to spend the next few years walking up and down the Mahler Boulevard. The officer twisted Armpit's arm extra hard as he unlocked the handcuffs. The other officer was ready with his baton. Okay. That was a very dramatic scene. I would like for you to comment on how you're feeling right now, stress-wise. Ginny's on the ground having a seizure. And Armpit, it was being arrested, but luckily the mayor just came to help him out. Let me know.